what is expected from Japanese traditionally styled trees. So let's put this one back away, get out our overgrown mess one, and we're going to use a few tools. Most important tool for me, glasses. Put these guys on before we ever get out these. So a pair of scissors is going to take care of 80% of what you need on a smaller tree. Concave branch cutters. This is an 8-inch pair. Another very important tool, probably the second tool you should add to your repertoire. This is the first if you don't count the glasses. Everybody is on their own as far as those go. So most of what we're going to do is with a good pair of bonsai scissors. These are carbon steel, which is traditional for bonsai tools. Stainless is also becoming more popular, but with carbon you do have to worry about rust, and you want to make sure to maintain these in a drier environment, or at least wipe them down and oil them periodically. So let's get back to trimming up this tree, because I know that's what this is really all about. So we're going to take a look at the basic tree. This one was a semi-style tree, so it already had the main branches selected on it. So what we're basically going to do here is we're going to work up from the bottom branch to the top, kind of cleaning up the mess one step at a time. Hopefully you can see all this. This is a one-man recording show, so I can't really get up and move the camera around a lot. But the first thing we're going to do is pluck off some of these little pieces that are growing off the trunk or at the branch directly at the trunk. That is not something you want. You want some separation of your pad from the trunk, because in Japanese bonsai, we want to make sure that we see that trunk. That gives us that the look of age and the distinguishedness that we expect from the trees, with the pads of green floating around it. And by doing that, it actually kind of fills in and creates the overall appearance of a fully filled in green tree, even though it is simply just pads that are working back and forth and around the tree. So as we did, we started down at the bottom there. We just plucked a couple of little pieces off. There's not a lot growing. The main thing we're going to look for is stuff that is shooting up or starting to develop from the prior trimming. Now in the case of this, we've got one branch that's growing back into the tree. That's against all the rules. That's gone. So get rid of that. Now let's step back to the back branch. On the back branch, we've got, again, a couple of little leaves that are directly at the trunk. We want to clear that out just slightly, maybe give a half of an inch or so between the trunk and the branch, or the trunk and the first green that's on the branch. I don't know if you can see, but on this you actually have another branch that's growing back here. There's some cases that you'll actually leave secondary branches just as options down the road, but in the case of this one's gone. But if your upper branch was pointing in the wrong direction, when I say upper branch, this back branch that was slightly above that one is pointing in the wrong direction or something, you may want to leave that one to develop. Now on this first lower or rear branch, there is again not a lot of new growth on it, so we're going to kind of let that one stay it is, just kind of trim up what was right there by the trunk, and let it develop further from there. The most important thing in styling a bonsai is patience. There's more twiddling your thumb than there is trimming. You can only trim for so long on a tree before their tree kind of disappears. So let's move right on along. Let's go up to the next side branch, which is over here. This branch here is not got a lot of new growth on it. But it's filling in kind of nicely. It does have one branch up over here that is really not growing out of the side of this primary branch like we'd like, but it is in nice shape. So I'm going to leave that one there. We're going to wire that one down. Now, most of what we try to do is to trim to create it to grow in the direction that we want to do. But there are certain cases where we are going to want to do some wiring, and that branch is in a perfect place. So what we'll do is we'll get that one wired down a little bit to hold it into place. And when you wire a tree, you actually are creating little micro fractures in the branch that will heal up with time, so that the wiring can be removed after a while, just like the braces on your teeth. It's there to train your teeth to go in the correct direction. Once they've firmed up in that position, then you can certainly remove the braces. Same with the wire here. And you may see some wiring on the tree already that at some point will have to be removed. So let's go back over here to this branch. There's a little stub here that's not really growing any green, and there's a lot of green coming out of the front of it. So I'm just going to nip the end of that off just slightly. Again, we're going to plan on wiring that down. That'll actually give us a fairly nice little pad there. So let's move on up to the next level. This is another side branch up a little bit higher. This one actually has a few different branches shooting out of it. Well, the first thing we want to make sure we do is, again, we're maintaining our asymmetrical triangular shape. So this branch has to be shorter than the branch below it. This really is not quite doing it. It's still almost out to the outer edge, but that's where we're going to go with. The fact that this piece of branch right here is pretty much right at the tip of the branch that we've just trimmed, it really can't have much sticking off the side. So we'll cut that pretty close to the main branch itself. And then as we get back further, I don't know if you can see here, but we're going to cut back a little further on this branch, because that'll make a nicer secondary side branch. And again, we may wire that down just a little bit. At the same time, let's pluck some of these leaves that are real close to the trunk and these real big ones, which will allow smaller leaves to fill in. This is one of the few species that you can actually do a full defoliation on almost any time of the year, and it will fill back in with time. The other thing that we want to do as we're going along, which we haven't done on the bottom branches, is we want to remove the growth that's hanging down. So like on this very bottom branch, I don't know if this is level to the camera, but there's a lot of little leaves that are hanging down below the level of the pad. And in bonsai, what we say is we want to eliminate lower growth and control the upper growth. So if it's growing down, it's wrong. Nature does not grow towards the ground. It grows towards the sun. So all the growth that's on the bottom of a branch, we want to try to remove. And I'm hoping that you're able to see that. Even on a little bushy branch like that, and on this one, you take off some of that lower growth, and it really does help define even the basic levels. Now, I'm not just pulling these leaves off. I am kind of pushing up onto the trunk and pulling them at the same time. I've been doing this for quite a while, so you kind of get the feel. If you just pull on a branch, you're likely to break a branch. So, or when you just pull on a leaf, you're likely to break a branch. So right now we've gotten the first 4 branches done, cleaned up. So let's go to the back branch over here. And again, not sure how well you can see, but on the back branch, if we kind of clear out some of this other growth, we see that we've got a couple of main leaders coming off here. We're going to want to keep one, so I'm going to keep the thinner one as the main leader. And then I'm going to take this little thicker one and cut it short as a side branch. This branch right here is a nice little side branch, keeping in mind that everything needs to be going in a kind of a cone shape as we go higher. So that whole branch needs to be in lower than the branch below it, or being closer to the tree, because that's how things grow in nature. The bottom branches are naturally longer and older than the younger branches that are up higher. This also is another nice side branch over here, so I'm going to cut it off, leave a little bit of green on it, just so it kind of looks a little nicer. And we're going to get in here and pluck a couple of these leaves that are right next to the basic trunk. Take a quick look for the low-hanging fruit. And there's a couple we'll pluck off. Now, a lot of times when you're doing your trimming, the tree will tend up to look a little bit bare once you're done, but trust me, it will fill back in pretty quickly, especially here in Florida. Now let's go back to our next level. It's another side branch. This one has a big branch growing straight up and off of it. Not much interested in that, so I'm going to clip that up just above the one leaf structure. Now, the Fukien Teas, they do have a natural tendency to create these little warts all over them, so you want to kind of be careful to leave these little lumps on these. I don't know, again, if you can see that little wart that I just trimmed off the top, but at some point as it fills in, you may actually remove that down the road. Now, as far as the side branches here, it's got a beautiful little side branch, so we're going to cut that one off just to leave a little bit off the edge, and we're going to cut the end off, we'll say right there. And it's got another side branch that's growing pretty much almost right off the trunk. That's kind of a no-no. You don't want to have two branches growing from the same location of the trunk, but since it's a young tree and it's in its development, I'm going to trim this one back a little bit, leave it as a side branch, but we'll track it down the road. As more stuff starts growing, we will probably, almost definitely, remove it. Again, let's go back through and we'll pluck some of the low-hanging fruit to create that flat pad. Don't ever hesitate as you're doing it to pick off the big leaves to fill back in with some of the smaller ones. So that layer is pretty close, but quite frankly the branch looks a little bit long, so we're going to trim off just another 1/2 inch, and then we're going to shorten off this side branch just to keep it a little bit more in perspective. There is another side branch right here growing off the bottom of the branch, but because it is coming out to the side fairly nicely and not exhibiting downward growth, it may actually fill itself in and look like a true side branch eventually. So again, this is one we're going to leave as an option and keep an eye out for it down the road, and at some point we may trim it on off also. Keeping on going back up here, we have another side branch. This one has, as you can see, a very long piece growing off of it. My guess is this is going to be my leader or the primary branch, so off that goes, off a little bit of that. Couple of plucks on the bottom, and that's done. Then right over here, this is a branch that's growing directly up. It's coming off the trunk in the exact same place as this side branch is. Yeah, I don't really need a back branch there. I kind of like the side branch. I have a couple of back branches already, so at this point I'm going to trim it short. My guess is that's going to all be removed at some point too. But it may be part to fill in the little pom-pom for the top of the tree, or the apex of the tree. And then as we get up to the very, very top, let's go ahead up here and cut the tip off. And that would be the apex, at least at this point. That'll fill back in pretty quickly. So, as you see, we got a little bit of a mess on the table. Scrape that on off to the side. And I don't know how well you can see. Let me take the glasses off so I can look in the viewfinder, although I can't quite see the green against it here. But that's basically a tree that's gone from pretty much a mess to somewhat trimmed up, you can always go back and pluck another couple of little leaves that are hanging low. That's a very important part of it, is the layers. Keeping in mind that this branch here I'm going to wire down, which will actually give us a fairly nice pad on that level. These two levels really are still kind of lacking side branches, so we'll see what happens with time. I'm not against, and actually typically prefer, when you start out with a tree such as this, just to let it grow for a few weeks or a month. Just learn how to take care of it. Let it kind of overgrow to like what I showed you this one was. And if you're in the area, come see me. You can always get in touch with me through the website, tampabonsai.com. I'm available almost every day. I'm West Central Florida area, and I'm happy to try to help you through any issues that you may have. But basically, that's a tree now that's pretty much ready to be loved and maintained, and grow a little bit more of this and that, and try to get some more side branches. So as you can see, even with my talking, it only took a few minutes, so it's really not that difficult. To create one of these from scratch may be a little bit more involved. We're going to go over all that in the full Learn to Bonsai battery. So I'm going to take this little cute tree and put it aside, and we're going to break out another one.